I know you're gonna dig this.
This is Rhine McLin, host of the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center's award-winning show, Funk Chronicles, recorded live here at DATV Studios in Dayton, Ohio. Zooming in from Los Angeles, California, former lead guitarist and vocalist, producer, and writer for the legendary group Earth, Wind, and Fire. Originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, Sheldon Reynolds. Welcome, and thank you so much for agreeing to come on our show. Hi, how are you, Sheldon?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Oh, great. It's just so exciting to have you on the show, and let's just start right in about how did you get interested in music, and take us through your career.
It's sort of a family affair because I started because my mother influenced me because she played piano and she sang, and we have a cousin who did pretty well in the industry. His name was Felipe Wynn, who sang with the Spinners. And between the two of them, I got interested. Then I saw Michael Jackson, and that was it.
And then you were sold, right?
I wanted to be Tito.
How old were you then?
By the time I got my first guitar when I was 6. And then by the time Michael Jackson's came along, I think I was about 9 or 10, somewhere around there. And I just wanted to be Tito or Jackson 6.
So your mother played the piano, and did you and your mother do duets?
Later, yeah, once I learned how to play.
So who taught you how to play?
Me, myself, and I.
Okay, so you were self-taught.
Yeah, it was always good to get punished and go to your room. I've been there practicing all the time.
So you are self-taught as a musician?
Pretty much. I'm self-taught because I started playing by myself in the room, just learning how to play. And then I had a couple teachers along the way, but they would come and go, because teachers are trying to get out there and be out here where I'm at now.
So what about being in school? Did you play in school or anything like that?
No, they cut out the guitar players wouldn't really welcome in school. I played my first talent show at school, which was the group I had called Blue Atmosphere. And we played at Mount Healthy High School, Mount Healthy Elementary School at the time. That was our first gig.
That was your first gig?
Yeah, we won the talent show. We won first and second place in the talent show.
Wow, that was good. Can you remember what song you played?
I remember Slipping in the Darkness by War. And then we made up the second song we won by, we made it up on our own. It's called Shades of Reality.
Well,
we were something.
And so at that time, did you write music at that time?
I mean, you could call it, we were trying, even if it didn't sound right, we were trying.
When I think about, you're from Cincinnati, Ohio, and you went to high school in Cincinnati?
Yeah, Mount Healthy High School, Sands Elementary School, and a little bit of UC.
So you got, so you really do have some Ohio roots.
Oh yeah, I started out at Walnut Hills and ended up in Parktown and then ended up in Mount Healthy.
So, and I noticed that some of the groups that you have been with, let's talk about your experience with Sun.
Oh my God, hanging out on 3rd Street in Dayton, Ohio. Up here.
So how long did you?
That was my first big gig.
How long did you play with Sun?
It was about 2 years, maybe 3 years, something like that.
And then you went on to you played with the Commodores.
Yeah, first I went and played back with a band called Kicks. It was out of Cincinnati. It was really a great group. It never got discovered. Then I got the phone call to play with the Commodores, and that took me from LA to here to LA.
And so how long did you play with the Commodores?
4 years exactly to this month. It was 4 years from I got hired in August and I left in August to go to Earth, Wind and Fire. 4 years later.
In the Earth, Wind and Fire, I mean now we're really getting into true funk, true funk with the elements. And how long were you with Earth, Wind and Fire?
Total of about 14 years.
Let's talk about that experience. I mean, how did you get discovered to even begin to be with Earth, Wind and Fire?
Well, I don't want to make it a long story, but I mean, I got to tell it the way it is.
I want you to tell your story.
I literally got on an RTD bus one day, took my tapes and my little cassettes and stuff down to the studio building that Maurice, at the time, owned. And I just basically went down there and knocked on the door and got in and met his sister, who was very nice, and took my tapes and told me she'd get them to him. And so I left there and got back on the bus and said, okay, I didn't meet him, but I did get my tapes in there. But I did meet Verdine that day, and a couple other people, I can't remember who all, but I met Verdine that day. And about a week later, I was at a studio with the Commodores where they were recording Night Shift, a song they did called Night Shift.
I remember Night Shift.
And there was a car in the driveway parked in the parking lot. There was a beautiful burgundy Porsche that I thought, wow, that's a bad car. Whose car is that? And somebody said, that's Maurice White. He's in another studio. And I ran to the phone and called his sister and said, look, he's in the same building I'm in. Can you get him to come out? And he came out, and we met, and we just hit it off, hanging out for a while and talking. And we said we were going to get together, and then he went back in the studio, and I just prayed to God that he called, and he did. And but the funny thing is that I was staying with a guy who was singing background with the Commodores at the time, who didn't pay his phone bill, and the phone was cut off at the place we were staying at. But something told me to go call my mother, and I went to the phone booth outside and called my mom, let her know I was okay. She said, I know you're okay, but somebody called here that you need to talk to. And I said, who? She said, Maurice White. He called you. You gave him my number too. And that's when I ended up calling. I talked to him for the first time about being in the band and working with him and all that stuff from a phone booth in LA.
Wow, how interesting that is. To come from Cincinnati, Ohio, following the Commodores to California, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then pushing it, as you say, can I push it? You pushed it to Earth, Wind and Fire, Maurice White, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it like to be in that band?
Well, the one thing I have to say in retrospect, if it hadn't been for me playing with Sun and especially playing with the Commodores, I'd have never been ready for Earth, Wind and Fire. Because Earth, Wind and Fire was like a dream band. Everybody and their mama wanted to be in Earth, Wind and Fire. Because it was a band that was influenced by spirit, by improv, by every aspect of music you can think of. We did it. And I just think that I thank God for being in the Commodores. I thank God for being in Sun and Wilbert Longmire before that, because that prepared me for when I got the call to be with Earth, Wind and Fire. And there were nights when we'd have to pinch ourselves. All the new guys that got in the band when I came in, we would pinch ourselves because we couldn't believe we were actually up there.
Tell me some of the highlights. At least name three. Name three highlights of. I'm sure there's more than more. But name three. Name some highlights of playing with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and then tell me some of the interesting things that might not have been highlights, but they were truly learning experiences being with Earth, Wind, and Fire. Did you travel out the country with them?
Oh yeah, we went all over the world. We went around the world 4 or 5 times. But what I would say, a couple of them were, we played one night, and the first night I remember us doing what I call a mega concert was in Paris, France. We got to Paris and we played at a place that held 25,000 people. It was called Bercy. And it was sold out. And when we got ready to go on stage, we had to literally go run back into the dressing room because they were mobbing the stage. They climbed up on the stage and everything. We had to go back and start over. And it was like, for us, us guys who were new to the band, this was our first tour, and to be in a Beatlemania type of event, we were just, we couldn't believe it. And we had a spiritual event in the Capitol Center in Washington, D.C., where we were playing a song called Imagination. It was on the Spirit album. And at the end of that song, there's a part that goes to a very angelic vocal part that sings, and we got the audience to sing it with us, and we stopped playing, and the audience sang it to us.
Wow.
It was like we were waiting for Jesus to show up at that point. I mean, it was amazing. And oh my God, I can't. There's so many I can't think of all of them.
Well, just give me another. Because these experiences are, we have to have them translated so that we can preserve them.
Well, I'll tell you a funny one. I'll tell you something funny. When I first got to the show, we did a show in Cincinnati on the first tour. And when I got there, I had invited about 10 people to be my guests for the show. By the time we got to the stage, I had 50 guests. I went to Maurice and I said, man, I got so many new cousins and uncles and aunts that I ain't never known before, who now have adopted me as their new relative. I just want to be right with them for one night. And I said, I don't want to be arguing with them, telling them, you ain't my aunt, you ain't my cousin. I know you're making this up, but he said, look, let them come in. It's your first time being here with this kind of thing. So let them come in, and the next time they come, make them pay.
So tell me, how was working with Maurice White? He appeared to be a very, this is an outsider looking in, but Maurice White appeared to be a very settled and consistent person.
Right. Well, that was pretty much who he was behind the scenes as well. He had an aura that carried that made the Earth, Wind, and Fire magical presence come through. He had that aura that was Earth, Wind, and Fire. And we called Verdine the fire, and we called him the earth. And I don't know who the wind was, but he was like, how do I say this? He wasn't the guy who would tell you everything to play at all times, but he would inspire you to reach the highest you can go, and then reach a little bit higher. And when you thought you were satisfied, he'd say, try something else. So he kept your creative juices going all the time. And he liked to keep it on the edge, as he said. He always used to say, I want to keep it on the edge. And that was always that putting that electric, how do you say, making the music sound electrified, where it was really, really, really spectacular. And if he did something that was common, he would say, let's try something different. I know we can go that way, but let's try something different. He always pushed the envelope. And that was with all the guys, Philip and everybody. They all were like that.
So you stayed with them like 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you leave?
Oh, we had a big change in the band. They changed the whole band. So it was after about 14 years, Maurice had retired, and when he was getting sick with Parkinson's at the time, and the band changed, just changed visions at that point. So we all sort of went our own separate ways, and I mean we're still friends and everything else, but times change. Nothing lasts forever.
Well, 14 years is a nice long run to be with a group.
Oh yeah, it was a dream of a lifetime, and I thank God more than anybody can imagine. I thank my family for putting up with all of the distance and all the travel I had to do and all that stuff. And it kept you away from my wife and my kids and everything else. And my daughter's right there in Cincinnati. She still lives there.
What are the three? Probably are more, but what are the three takeaways you brought from your experience from Sun, Commodores, and Earth, Wind, and Fire? Just for today, at this moment in time, what are three takeaways?
I would say, coming from, when you say those three things, and then you say coming from Cincinnati, Ohio, I mean, nobody believed that I would ever go that far. But those same people who didn't believe are the ones who were back at the backstage door saying, I'm his cousin. Okay. So, and I let them in because I didn't want to be what they had done to me. I felt that it was, I've been blessed to do something that only a few people have done. And I felt like it was like, just give something good and don't expect something back. Just give the goodness like we need in this world today. We need it now. We need it right now in today's world. We need some goodness. And I thank God because it could have been anybody. It could have been in Sun or the Commodores or Earth, Wind, and Fire. There was a million people who would have loved to have been in the same position I was walking in. And if I'd only played there, if I'd only been with them for one day, that would have been satisfying.
So your takeaways were coming from Cincinnati, Ohio. Mm-hmm. Your other takeaway was that the folks that didn't believe in you were suddenly your relatives, and you didn't treat them like they treated you. And your third takeaway was giving thanks to the Almighty for being there to guide you through this trip. If you were going to give any advice to young people who want to go into this industry, what would it be, Sheldon?
Do it because you love music. Don't do it because you just want to make money. Okay. Because people don't buy money. They buy emotions and feelings and touch hearts and spirit. So I would suggest to them to please do this because you love the art of music, and give something great and good. Give it your heart. Make them believe you are telling the truth, what you're saying. Whatever you're singing about, make them believe it.
Now, I understand that you've been on a television show, and tell me, want to talk about that a little bit? And I also know that you've played with Brian Culberson. Do you go on his cruises too?
I did. I haven't been on it lately, but I did a bunch of them with him before, and we wrote a bunch of songs together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were Paul McCartney and John Lennon for a minute, we thought. It's because we didn't.
Well, back in the day, you were doing television shows.
I did stuff with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I did commercials and stuff like that. I sang on commercials.
Sang on commercials. I keep hearing a lot of residuals or royalties here with you because the songwriting. Now you're telling me that you did commercials, and so those.
I was hustling. I didn't have time to dawdle.
So therefore, I'm expecting to hear from you that you have managed the understanding the business part of this. Is that correct?
Well, I can say I've done well in the sense of been consistent, but I wasn't there in the heyday. I missed the heyday years when the real money was being made. But I did have the consistency of being able to tour with him all the time, and for a certain time period, I was in the circuit, and I did commercials and radio spots and stuff like that. I did do a little bit of that. But
Yeah.
no, I can't retire yet. But I don't intend to until I get to before God.
Well, I tell you now, I saw that you've been on a tour with, and just to show you your hustle from the Sun, the Commodores, to think that you were even with Millie Jackson.
That's where I started. That was the first big gig I ever had.
Really, with Millie Jackson? I think she's an
The
interesting
juke
woman.
joint in Georgia. The juke joint down in Georgia. I was 17 years old. Didn't have no business being in there.
Oh,
She was a sweetheart.
Millie Jackson. So that's where that's what you're going to officially say is your first gig with Millie?
Yeah, the same band that I played in junior high school with. Most of that same band, and we got the. I don't even remember how we got the gig, but we got called to go to ride down to Georgia and play with Millie Jackson, and we opened up for her. And we did a bunch of gigs with her for a minute.
Now that's fascinating. Do you still stay at that?
Talking about being 16 years old and at a Millie Jackson show, that was something else.
But I just found that to be quite. When I saw that with you, with Millie Jackson always makes me smile, and she was unique within herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
she was actually a very sweet lady. She was she projected the roughhouse, on the stage.
Oh yeah.
But she really was a down to earth and a good person to know.
So you were with Earth, Wind & Fire when they got a Grammy nomination in 1994?
Yep, it was my song, Sunday Morning.
Oh, that was your song.
Yep.
I also noticed that you were with the band when they got inducted into the NAACP's Image Award Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was the first award I'd ever received. I mean, it wasn't anything that I personally did, but I was glad to be there, and the Hollywood Walk of Fame as well.
And the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and then I also noted that when Maurice White went solo for a minute, that you were there with him.
That's when I had just met him, when he was doing his solo album.
Oh, okay.
I played and sang on that record. That's what got me in the band, was playing on that record of his.
And Philip Bailey?
Philip wasn't there at the time, but he came back right after that.
Okay. And you played on Smokey Robinson's album?
Oh, that's a funny story because
Let me hear it.
I got called to play with. I got called by George Duke, of all people, one of the greatest musicians ever. George Duke called me to play a recording session, and I got scared because I thought he was going to ask me to play some real complicated music that I wouldn't be prepared for. And when I got there, it was a very, very beautiful Smokey Robinson song. It was easiest to play, and I almost had a heart attack, and I was so scared.
Yeah. And did you play on Chicago's in 2008? You played on Chicago. Chicago had a similar sound, kind of to the Earth, Wind & Fire.
Yeah, they were bad. Boy, they were bad. Yep, I played on one song of theirs.
And with Brian Cumberson is. So what are you doing now? Tell me what you're doing now.
I just released a song called Generations. It's a song I had in my vault tapes that just seemed to be. It kept speaking to me, and I need to release it now because it's talking about what's going on in this world today. And it's just saying we got to treat each other better than what we're doing. That's basically what it's saying.
Well, you want to
But
share a little bit with us?
You got it there?
No, I'm asking you. Do you want to tell us, sing a little bit to us?
Well, I'd rather do it right. I mean, if you're gonna do it, let's do it. Let them hear it the right way.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. You said it was in the mothballs that you had pulled this out. Was a song that you had written. You know, and timing is generally very important for the success of a song.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm
Yeah,
going
it
to
came
look.
out. We did, me and Ralph Johnson from EARTHWIND FIRE. We wrote it almost 20 years ago, and I remastered it about 10 years ago. I was trying to release it, but couldn't get the timing wasn't right. And then just about 3 weeks ago, I dug it out and listened to it, and I said, let's put this out. I said, all this stuff I'm seeing on the TV, it looks like this song needs to be heard. And we've gotten in less than 2 weeks, we've gotten 6,000 hits.
Oh, well, I'm going to look that up because I want to hear it. So it's
Generations 2020.
Generations 2020. Sheldon, I need to, as we wind up this interview, which has been really great and fascinating with your whole career, tell us how important it is to you for the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center to be established.
Oh, this is a joy for me because, I mean, coming from where I come from, in the era we came up in, me and my wife and all my friends, we always say that we came up in the best era of the funk because it was when we were striving to be the best that we can be. We weren't settling for anything less than the best. And I mean, it's hard to, the best way I can say it is that one day I met a guy, I was walking down Beale Street in Memphis, and he was playing the blues, and he was playing some funky blues. And I asked him, can you teach me that? And he laughed at me, and he said, no, man, I can't teach you this, you got to live it. And I said, oh, and I was only about 18, 19 years old at that time. And I know now what he meant because I've lived enough life to know you can play the same notes. There's only 8 notes to play. You can play the same notes so many different ways, and most of it's based on touching people. And if you can touch people with those 8 notes, you'll have a career.
That is so well said. That is so well said.
Make sure you record it. I may never say it again.
Oh, yeah, well, let's record it. So we got it. And that was. And one of the things I do want to say to you is, Sheldon, on behalf of the Funk Chronicles and David Webb with the Funk Music Hall of Fame, that we're just happy to have had this opportunity for you to tell your story to be recorded on the Funk Chronicles.
I thank you so much, and I thank David, and whatever I can do to help to support this, I'm totally into it because it's in my state, it's near my hometown, and it's doing the right thing for the right reasons.
Well, we appreciate you, and somewhere along the line you'll donate to us something so we can have a memorial of you in our museum. This is Rhine McLin, host of the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center's award-winning show, Funk Chronicles. Until the next time, let's keep it funky.
said, do that. That ain't God, you hear?